Hello, everyone. My name is Jill Rowetter, and I'm a District RN for Jeffco Public Schools. In this video, I'll be going over the new illness surveillance process that we will be utilizing this semester. Along with this video, in the email, you'll be receiving a copy of the spreadsheet as well as a Google Doc that goes through it step by step. So let's go through it together here. As you can see, the illness surveillance log, it's just a Google spreadsheet, and we are going to want to integrate this into your current health room log. And the way you can do that here is down at the bottom where it says new COVID on the tab, we're going to right click and go to copy to, and we're going to go to existing spreadsheet. And then it goes into your drive and you can select your school's health room log to integrate that tab into this health log. So once you've done that, I'm just going to go over some scenarios here in which you would be entering students onto this sheet. Now, the step-by-step sheet is color-coded: yellow for attendance secretary, green for health aide, and blue for district RN. And that correlates directly to this spreadsheet and the intended person that should be filling in these columns. That is the intention. Not every school has that process. There may be times where the health aide is doing the attendance secretary part as well. So scenario one is absences due to illness. So this is when parents call in students sick on the attendance line. So the attendance secretary will come in to this spreadsheet and fill in the yellow columns only. So today we have 124, student's name is Brad Pitt. They will check off whether that it's the attendance line, remote student or not. Name of person reporting the absence, of course that's April, and the illness or symptoms that the parent reports here. And then they initial, and they are all done. That's all they need to do. And we are going to do this for students on day one of absences only. The health aide will come back through. We want to do that early in the day as possible because the health aide is going to come after that and do a little bit of follow-up here. So the first thing that the health aide is going to do is contact these families by email and email them the COVID symptom parent letter to each of these families. The COVID symptom parent letter has a link in the step-by-step, and it has been updated with newer information. So we want to make sure if you have paper copies in your health room or MSR that you're giving out, that we update that with your RN's information and the new info that's in there. They're going to document that they sent the email in the campus contact log as usual. And then we're also going to check it off here that the letter was sent in column S here on the log. Now, there are circumstances, they're going to come back through and do day 3 as well. So the next thing that we want to do is calculate which day is going to be day 3. So if we have today as day 1, then day 3, 24, 25 is going to be 26. So we'll put January 26th in the day 3 column, and they're going to want to calculate that for all the students that were called in sick. Now, there are going to be circumstances in which day 1 of illness may not be the same as the day 1 of absence, such as it's a Monday and a parent might call and they've been sick over the weekend. And in those circumstances, it's a great idea for the attendance secretary to verbalize that or contact the health aide or the nurse and let them know about that so we get the day 3 correct. Now, the next thing that the health aide will need to do is to check the attendance every day for students who are on that day 3. So let's say it's the 26th now. The health aide will need to come through and check to see in campus if these students have come back to school. So if Brad Pitt came to school the very next day, felt better and came back, great, that's within the protocol. We just say that he came back on the 25th. And we could note in the notes column here in Z, symptoms resolved, student back at school. But if not, if they haven't returned, then you would just leave that blank so that the RN would know that follow-up is needed. Scenario 2 covers students that are in the medical safe room due to illness throughout the school day. So in that circumstance, the health aide is going to fill this part out. The yellow columns date, name, and the symptoms are still going to be done by the health aide as well. So the green rows here are very similar to the current COVID room log. So we're going to want to put the time that the student was in, We're going to check off that they're in the medical safe room, what symptoms we're seeing or that were reported, temperature here, time we contact the parent, certainly if they're going home. There's special circumstances we know where they may go back to class. We could check that off. Who picked up the student? Bob. What time? And then we're also going to set that day 3 for this student as well if they're sent home sick. And then we're going to want to hand them physically the letter when they pick up the student as well. So we'll check off that the letter was sent and that scenario is covered. And then scenario 3 is going to be quarantine students. So you may get a phone call from a parent saying that their student is quarantined due to a positive exposure, or even perhaps quarantines that you have within your school from exposure to a positive. So in those cases, we're going to put the date and the student name. And all we need for that is to come to the quarantine column here in column T and put the reason for the exposure and the release date here. So this student was, Star-Lord was exposed at hockey and can return on the 3rd of February. So now in this situation, I checked off tested for COVID. Maybe we find out later that the parent tested them, whether they were symptomatic or just to see, and we have a tested for COVID column here that we can utilize as well. In scenario 4, what we're looking at is students who are positive with COVID. So we know as RNs that that's a lot more follow-up there. So we would definitely have the RN contact that family, collect information, and fill out the student positive form. And then they will let the health aide know when that student is cleared to return to school. And that is when we would go in and put the date, the student's name, we would check them off positive for COVID, and then we would go to the isolation column in column X and put the return date to school in that column there. Now for both scenarios 3 and 4, whether a student is quarantined or positive, we are going to want to have the health aide send an email to the student's teachers, letting them know that that student is going to be gone and we only want to provide the student name and the return date only. There's a template in the step-by-step where we would just say, dear teacher, student name will be out till return date. Please reach out to the family regarding makeup work. And that is all we need to do for that as well. And then in all scenarios, we would have the RN come through and on a regular basis and go ahead and initial off their entries here to just make sure that all the dates are correct and that we know about which students are ill and back and what we're doing here. RNs will also be coming through once a day to check on day 3. So anybody that doesn't have a return date here, we would want to contact those families for the next step in the protocol. And then of course the RNs will still be contacting families that are positive and completing the student positive form. But we are hoping with the help of the health aides and this spreadsheet that the situation is much more streamlined and that everybody can work together to make this a little bit easier for us this semester. Thanks so much.